The TAC-56 versus Kastov 7.62. When I ran a poll on the best long-range weapon in Warzone 2 with nearly 8,000 votes, the TAC-56 and Kastov 7.62 were the top two vote getters. And I thought the best way to solve this debate was just to compare the two weapons directly and help you decide which weapon is the best for you to ascend your gameplay in Warzone 2, all the way to victory. I'll give you some stats, give you my opinion, and give you the best class setups for each weapon to help you dominate the competition. I'm going to start off with the big time stats that you care about the most: fire rate, time to kill, and recoil. For fire rate, we're going to have 625 rounds per minute for the TAC and 600 for the Kastov. This is a minor advantage for the SCAR because it makes the weapon slightly more forgiving if you miss a shot, because the time to kill is affected a little bit less when you miss. But they're so similar, it shouldn't be a deciding factor when picking between these weapons. And if we move over to time to kill against players with 250 health, meaning they have on 3 plates, the Kastov will be better across the board with 600 milliseconds at close range compared to 672 for the TAC. And the long range time to kills will be 700 milliseconds and 960. You might wonder why the gap is so large at that range, and it's going to be because the TAC-56 has 3 damage range falls, while the AK only has 2, but only one of them will actually affect its time to kill. That means the last 2 ranges for the Kastov are both going to have the same time to kill. The SCAR will also have time to kills of 768 milliseconds and 864 in between the close and long range ones, which is what truly gives this Kastov its significant advantage in knocking players quickly. This gives the Kastov a big time upper hand with upside over the SCAR, but these are just theoretical time to kills if you hit all your shots. This advantage will do no good for the Kastov if the recoil is terrible. So let's head on over to the firing range to compare their recoil patterns. As you can see, this TAC-56 has a little less recoil because it is exclusively vertical, while the Kastov has a little bit of horizontal recoil going to the right. The SCAR is a big advantage by only having this vertical recoil because that makes it so much easier to control, because all you have to do is pull back on your analog stick or mouse to control it. But as you can see, it isn't very difficult to manage this Kastov's recoil either, though it clearly isn't quite as easy to use as the TAC. Now I'm going to transition to stats that people don't find as sexy, but impact how the weapons perform drastically and could make the difference in which weapon you prefer to run with. I will start with the average damage at close and long range, where the Kastov will be dramatically better with 40.4 to 33.8 and 34.8 to 23.6. That results in way less shots to knock, which is why the time to kill is so much better on the Kastov, even though it has a slower fire rate. And on top of that, it helps the damage per mag tremendously with 1392 to 944. This makes a big difference in bigger modes. Not having to reload mid-fight all the time equates to just having faster time to kills and easier times with mid to close range engagements. If you switch to a 60-round mag on the TAC-56, it will even out the damage per mag by going up to 1428, but that will be at the cost of mobility. And speaking of mobility, let's actually take a look at those stats, where they're going to be very similar weapons, but the SCAR will have a minor advantage here with aim down sight speed, movement, and ADS movement, while having equal reload and sprint to fire times. This will make almost no difference while using the weapons, as you won't even notice the difference in movement most likely. That's why we don't want to use the 60-round mag on the SCAR to make it feel worse. And the last stat I want to go over quickly is going to be bullet velocity, where these weapons are identical at 590 meters per second on the base weapons, which is okay, but something we clearly have to improve in their class setups to make them function better as long-range assault rifles. Please make sure to like the video if it's been helpful understanding how these weapons perform, and subscribe for Warzone 2 content to help ascend your gameplay. Now for my verdict on which weapon is better: the Kastov 7.62 for higher skilled players and the TAC-56 for your average player. The Kastov isn't as friendly to use, but has high upside put into the correct person's hands. It can drop enemies so quickly at range when you hit your shots, and has solid damage per mag without hurting the mobility too much. Then the TAC-56 has the better fire rate and the better recoil, while having a slight advantage in movement, mainly in the ADS category. I just think its ease of use is too good to pass up for average players, where your actual time to kill will be better than the Kastov's. When I give the time to kill stat, it's theoretical if you hit all of your shots, but once you start missing, which will always happen in your long range engagements, the time to kills will get a little bit messier, and I think most people would perform better with the more accurate weapon. And let's jump straight into these class setups, and I'm going to be looking at the TAC-56 first. And what I want to go over quickly is on the muzzles, I actually don't have on a silencer, because just like multiplayer, even if you don't have a suppressor, you won't show up on the minimap in the top left. The only spot where a red dot will pop up is on the compass on the top of your screen, which most people wouldn't even know to look at. And the only problem with this barrel is it doesn't give us bullet velocity, but it gives us way more recoil control, and it makes it a lot easier to use. But if you want some bullet velocity and a silencer, just switch to the Harbinger D20 barrel. But for me, because of the extra recoil control, I'm going to go with this RF Crown 50. For the tuning, I just go to plus 0.67 on recoil stabilization because that really helps our accuracy and recoil stats. And we go to negative 0.1 towards aiming idle stability. And for the barrel, we're going to use this Tundra Pro, which is going to help our bullet velocity out and our damage range, which is great. And we're going to go to plus 0.39 on recoil steadiness, as well as plus 0.22 towards damage range, which is going to help out this weapon a lot in long range engagements. Then we're going to use the 40 round mag so it doesn't hurt our mobility too much, but if you are in quads, I think you have to use the 60 round because 950 damage per mag just isn't enough. But for any mode smaller, use this 40 round, keep that movement. Then from there, I use the VLK 4x optic where we tune it all the way over to far to lower the visual recoil. And then for ADS speed, I go to negative 2.13 because I don't think the flinch resistance is too big of a deal in our mid to long range engagements. Then I'm going to use the Brute Stock, which gives us recoil control and aiming stability, and I tune it towards ADS at negative 1.94 and then towards aiming stability at plus 1.94, and that's going to make the weapon a lot more accurate. And if you want to sacrifice some recoil control by switching off of the stock and going for bullet velocity, you could do that by going for the high velocity ammunition. And I don't think it's worth it, but it's really up to your preference. And this is just going to be the easiest to use assault rifle at long range in my opinion, so please try this out if you're an average player. And let's just switch over to this Kastov 7.62 or AK-47. We're really going to have basically the same attachments, they just have a different name to them. So we got the Logshot KT85 muzzle, which does the same thing as the last one, vertical and horizontal recoil control, where we go to plus 0.67 and negative 0.1. These are literally the same exact tunings and the same exact attachments, just with different names. Then the Cast 10 584 barrel, same thing, we got bullet velocity, damage range, but this one actually also gives us recoil control, so this one's a little bit better actually. And we go to plus 0.39 on recoil steadiness, and we go to plus 0.21 on damage range. And then we got the 40 round mag, but this one doesn't have an option for a 60 round, but this gives us our best damage per mag while not sacrificing our mobility too much, and it's great. Then we go to the VLK optic like before, we go negative 2.13 on ADS, and we go all the way to far to lower that visual recoil. Finally, we got this KSTV RPK factory stock, and the only thing I tune on this is going to be towards ADS speed at negative 1.94, and this is going to make the weapon as accurate as possible while still having that massive damage and TTK upside. And I think if you're higher skilled and can aim weapons really well, this is going to be your choice. And if you want to know the top 5 close range weapons to pair with these assault rifles, make sure to click on this video right here. Peace.